Hey guys, UrbanSuburban here. I got another quick knife video for you. Tonight I'm going to do another very quick preview video on another knife that I just received. And this is going to be part of my extremely inexpensive overseas produced knife videos. And today I have for you the Enlan EL-02. So far I'm a little bit torn on this knife. There are some pros and some definite cons. And I'll touch on the cons very briefly, as this is just a preview and I've only had this knife for a few days, but there are one or two things that have jumped out immediately that are going to be some issues that I'm going to have to rectify. Of course, as you can see here, it's an access lock, like the Ganzo that I looked at. G10 handles, both of those are good. It's comfortable in hand. I really like the blade shape, of course, kind of the classic drop point with a really nice, I'm not sure if that's an acid wash or a stone wash, but really nice looking blade. You can see there they have Enlan sort of etched into the blade there, EL-02 or 02. A little bit of jimping on top here, which is pretty nice. I really like the looks of this knife, really like, actually. Pocket clip I'm not a huge fan of. We'll talk about that and when we get to a full review. Pivot is kind of neat. I mean, aesthetically it's really nice, but if I have to adjust that, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do, because that is not a screwdriver bit that I own, and it's way too small to try and grip with your fingers. I'm not sure, maybe a small pair of pliers, needle nose pliers, maybe, but there's not a whole lot protruding there. So I'll have to look online and see what other people say. I think I heard that the chuck from Cordless Drill works. Of course, my drills are all chuckless, as I think all drills made in the last couple of years are basically chuckless drills, but I'll have to look into that. But so far not a big deal, because the pivot isn't an issue. It's pretty smooth, and of course with use that'll probably get even smoother. As you can see, centering's basically bang on. So far that's not an issue. If it loosens up over time, well, then I'll worry about it. The biggest thing though that jumped out at me after the first day is the studs on the access lock, which are very similar to the studs on the thumb studs on the blade. However, as you can see, if I'll keep this focused, these are basically smooth on top or flush, whereas these are concave, I guess, or there's a bit of a hollow to them, so there's that round ridge on top. And these ridges, actually all of them on here, all three of them on there, focus, there we go, are sharp, and I mean really sharp. And on top of that, the springs for the access lock are fairly stiff, and after a day, maybe I've had this 2 days now of playing with this thing, I almost literally cannot disengage the lock because my fingers are so sore. It doesn't really show so much. If I can move my hand around here, but you can see on my thumb, if I get it in the light, maybe you can't, yeah, you can see it's basically chewing the skin off my finger, and it's even kind of purple. So it is not comfortable at this point to use. When I do suck it up and disengage, it works alright, but it freaking hurts. Like, my thumb is sore, and it's more my thumb than my finger, because probably everyone, when they're doing this, you're putting more pressure on your thumb, your other finger just kind of guiding the other side to pinch it, but most of the force is with your thumb, and this thing just digs in and bites your thumb. So I got to figure out something to remedy that. I'm thinking right now a little spot of JB weld on to fill in that hollow and then sand it down to smooth it off. I think that's going to be my first try. Of course, then If I ever want to remove these, that's probably going to be an issue, but for the price I paid for this, and I'll tell you right now, this cost even less than that Ganzo I had. So for the price, if I screw this thing up, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And I really want this knife to work, because I like the looks of it. Like, this classic drop point is basically my favorite blade shape, at least for folders. It's so practical. You got decent belly, a nice tip. They slice good, they chop good, you can stab, do fine work with the tip. They're just, I think it's basically the perfect design. There are others I like for aesthetic reasons or for very specialized things, but for an all-round EDC blade, I don't think you can beat this blade shape. HCR 13 MOV steel, which it actually says there. If that'll focus too, come on. Well, maybe not, it's not going to focus, but it does say that on there. Well, there we go. And no shocker there, being a Chinese knife, that they use Chinese steel. So, and like probably most of you guys know, that is a very popular steel for even American design knives or American knife companies to use in sort of their more budget knives. Kershaw uses it a ton. Even Spyderco, the Ambitious, the Persistence, the Tenacious, that whole line, that's all HCR 13 MOV. And it's not a bad steel. I have a number of blades with it, and I find it's fine. It's not going to hold an edge forever, that's for sure, but it's very easy to sharpen, and you can get it laser beam sharp, so I'll take it. But anyway, guys, this is getting longer than I want it to be for a preview. So like I said, aesthetically, I really like this knife. So far, it seems comfortable in my hand. I really love the blade, but I gotta deal with these thumb studs somehow. So that's what I'm gonna do in the next couple of days. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with those, and then I'm gonna carry this thing for the next month or so, and then I will put out a review for you guys, and hopefully I'll have a thumb that I can still use at that point. But anyway, guys, take care, have a good night, and we'll talk to you in a bit.